Hey y'all, welcome to the Second of Strength podcast. My name is Tanner Clark. I went from sitting at a desk to speaking on stage internationally to inspire teenagers and people like you. My goal is simple: help you find your 1 second of strength to walk away from the things that are holding you back, to step into your potential, and ultimately find happiness. Thank you for spending your valuable seconds with me today. Let's go. Welcome to this week's episode of the Second of Strength podcast. I'm so grateful you're here. As always, I'm so glad that you're spending your valuable seconds with me. I know there's a lot of places, a lot of things you can be doing right now. So the fact that you're here is not lost on me. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for you. I hope you're grateful for you. I hope that you are, I hope you celebrate you. You know, I think that sometimes we get going in life and we forget to pat ourselves on the back. So wherever you are, thank you for being you. I hope that you recognize you a little bit today. If you haven't already, would love you to leave a quick review for the show. That just helps more people to hear it. You know, so if this podcast is on your podcast list and you're listening to it on a weekly basis, share it so somebody else can listen. Share it with your teenagers. Share it with someone you love, and hopefully it'll help them, because you never really know what somebody needs in their life. But today's episode of the Second of Strength podcast, we're going to talk about the people in our lives. And really what we're going to talk about is the people that you may need to leave behind in your life. Because here's the deal. Life is about growth. It's about happiness. It's about reaching your personal best and becoming the person that you know deep down inside you can become. And sometimes you don't even know who you can become, but there is this untapped potential that you have that is deep inside of you that is just waiting to come out. But here's the challenge. The people that you surround yourself are going to help you get there, or they're going to keep you from getting there in your life. And so here's the deal. I'm going to talk about a few different people, and this is like a self-check in your life of the people that you're hanging around with, that you are spending your time with, because at the end of the day, whether you're a teenager or whether you're an adult, the people you spend your time with matters. It matters a lot. And so we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about 5 different types of people in your life that may be limiting you from becoming your best self, that may be keeping you from happiness. And you may not even be aware of it yet, but the fact is that it may be happening. So maybe create a mental checklist as you go through this and think about the people in your life. And think about how you can surround yourself with really the opposite of the people that I'm going to talk about today. So the first one is manipulative or toxic individuals. Sometimes we have people in our life who are toxic, and toxic is such a word right now that just like everybody throws it out, and like you don't want to be around toxic, you know, like toxic at its root, I guess, is just, you know, if you think of something nuclear or something really damaging or something really harming that you wouldn't want to ingest into your body, like that's what toxicity is. And so if you think about like this toxic thing, this thing that you don't want to touch, and then you think about a person in your life who maybe is around you or you're hanging around that is creating some of this, like this sickness, that's what you don't want to be around. And so if you think about somebody who undermines your self-esteem, somebody who is always creating conflicts in your life, somebody who is always stirring the pot, somebody who is preventing you from flourishing or being positive in any way, those are the types of people that I would consider toxic, or toxic to your health, toxic to your mental well-being. And if we are surrounding ourselves with people who are limiting our self-esteem, then we are surrounding ourselves with people who we should not be surrounding ourselves with. So if those are the people, create that plan to walk away. Create that plan to walk away from somebody who is limiting your self-esteem, because at the end of the day, here's the deal, is you are the one person you are around 100% of the time. You're not around friends, you're not around family, you're not around anyone, but if somebody is influencing your internal mental perspective of yourself by the way that they are acting, and it's impacting you on a negative way, that is somebody who you shouldn't be spending your time with, just plain and simple. So start to distance yourself from that person. I always talk about your 1 second of strength. The podcast is called the Second of Strength Podcast. You have to be strong enough to find your 1 second of strength and walk away from that type of person. And 1 second of strength, I talk about it because that's all you need. You just need one moment of strength to move beyond the people that are in your life that are being toxic. So that's the first one. The second one is we need to not surround ourselves with people who enable bad behavior. And you think about that, good habits and bad habits in the world, right? We've got, and you yourself, myself, we have good habits and bad habits. And when we start recognizing the bad habits in our life, when we want to start walking away from those, that's the moment that we need to stop hanging out with people who are enabling those bad habits. Because if you keep hanging out with the same person, you're going to keep doing the same bad things. I always say that habits have memories. They remember time, they remember places, they remember people that you're with. And so if you are spending time in places with people who are creating bad habits consistently, then you're going to always do those bad habits. No matter how often you try and walk away from that habit, you are going to continue to do it because the habit has memory, right? And so we need to limit our exposure to people who are enabling bad habits, because if we don't, we will continue to fall. So how can you walk away from somebody? How can you walk away and improve your life if you are always doing the same thing, right? Like that's what they call the definition of insanity. You've probably heard this before, right? But insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Well, if you are constantly hanging out with the same people, the same person who is enabling bad habits, but you are expecting to grow out of that, let's be serious. It's not going to happen, right? It's just not going to happen. So we need to walk away from people who are enabling bad habits in our life. The third one is energy drainers. There are going to be people in your life who fill you, and there are going to be people in your life who drain you. I think you know what the answer here is. You want to be around people who fill you up, who give you life, who breathe life into you so that you can keep going. If somebody is constantly draining you, then it's a sign, a pretty clear sign that they're not people that are good for your long-term mental health. And so pay attention to that. And energy draining, sometimes it's people who are negative in and of themselves, right? Maybe they're just a negative person. And when we spend time with that negative person, we feel low energy. And so be really cautious of that. Be really cautious of those types of people who are constantly draining your battery, constantly taking from you, constantly stealing away from your health and your mental well-being. Because when we feel that in our life, it's really hard to get out of. And it can lead to, these symptoms of depression and like just sadness, right? And sometimes it's just because of the people that you're hanging out with. So look for opportunities to surround yourself with positivity. Look for opportunities to surround yourself with people who are giving life to you. And when you do that, you will walk away a happier, better person, and you will have a different optimism on life. And like one of the greatest things about life is that we have hope. We have hope of a future that is brighter, that is different, that gives us opportunity. And when we're constantly hanging around energy drainers, we kind of lose hope in the real possibility of happiness. And that's what I hate. And so one of the most critical things, and it can be hard. It can be hard to walk away from some people because we feel like someone else is going to talk about us, or we feel like, well, if I don't hang out with these people, or these are my friends or whatever, who am I going to hang out with? Who am I going to surround myself with? But here's the reality. If somebody is constantly doing bad habits, they're toxic, they're draining your energy, if they're doing all of these things, then what's better, to be around them and be in that struggle, or not be around them, maybe with less friends, but be happier? I got to believe that it's better to be happier. And so So that's the third one, is energy drainers. The 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 fourth one that I would say is really it's one and the same, but it's are you hanging around with gossipers, rumor spreaders, and people who are critical of or who are constantly critical of other people? This is a big one for me. And it's really easy when you step back to look at your friend group, to look at the people that are in your life and know which ones are always talking about other people. Good, bad, or indifferent, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying negative things about other people, even though one of those is critical of other people, but just gossiping and talking about other people in general, to me, is a big red flag. It's a huge red flag in my life. And so I want to make sure that we are constantly surrounding ourselves with people who are focused on building themselves up and growing and helping other people, instead of constantly judging and talking about people. I think if you examine your life, I think right now who the gossipers are, who the judgmental people are, who the rumor spreaders are, who those people are. And I just want you to ask yourself, does it make you happier to be around those people, or does it not? And if the answer is does it not, which I know it is, then why are we spending our time in those places, in those spaces? We just shouldn't be. We just shouldn't be, because here's the thing. You have to, Trent Shelton says it all the time, right? You have to protect your peace. You have to protect your peace. And if you are surrounding yourself with people who are always talking negatively about other people, then you are going to be susceptible to some of those same feelings and emotions. But if you also, and this is probably the biggest thing, is if you hang around with a gossiper and a rumor spreader, or someone who's critical, constantly critical of other people, then you can be sure that they are talking about you behind your back as well. No matter how good a friend you are, no matter how much they like you, it doesn't matter. If that is the fact, that you are hanging around with someone like that, then just know that they are talking about you. And I think you have two options in that instance. You can walk away from that person, spend less time with that person, or you can confront them. Hey, let's talk about something else. You can call the other person that they're gossiping about their good qualities. You can stand up for the people. I always talk about, if you stand up for the indefenseless, right? The people who are not there, who cannot defend themselves, that's the person you need to stand up for. And if that is the character that you build in your life, standing up for someone who is not there, the sky's the limit for you. You will always be happy, because you always know that you stood for good and truth. And there is nothing better than that, regardless of what people say about you, regardless of what people say when you leave and they're going to talk behind your back. But in the moment, if you're there, stand up for the people who need you to stand up for them, because they are not there to stand up for themselves. And it will change your life. And people will notice it. People will notice it because your demeanor will change, and it will start to change other people and the way that they talk about people, because you are that good of a person. You stand for that truth. You stand for that. The fifth type of person that we want to walk away from, or that we want to be really cautious about if we're spending time with them, is a chronic complainer. There's a quote I read recently, a life hack, right? I don't know if you call it a life hack, but just a tip for life, that said something along the lines of never complain about being tired or being bored or anything like that. And you may be tired and you may be bored, but you don't need to vocalize it. And I think sometimes we hang out with chronic complainers, people who are always pessimistic, people who are always taking actions to address their concerns, or say why life is so bad, or why me. And first of all, that's energy draining. It's exhausting. It's exhausting to talk that way, and exhausting to be around that. And so make sure you're spending your time with people who are not fostering a negative mindset, right? Because I think sometimes people get caught in this storm cloud, that everything is so negative. The world is so negative, and then they internalize it and they vocalize it. Well, internalizing it's one thing, and we certainly want people to be happy, but when they internalize it and then vocalize it, they are spreading that negativity to you. They're spreading it to other people. And so I would spend less time around people who are chronic complainers, but two, I would make sure that you are not chronically complaining as well, that you are not that person, which leads me to the biggest thing I want to talk about. I just ran off a list of 5 different things. People who are toxic, enablers of bad habits, people who are energy drainers, gossipers, rumor spreaders, people who are critical, constantly critical of other people, and the 5th one was chronic complainers. The biggest question I want to ask you is that you? And I'm not going to knock you if that's you, because everybody falls into these traps from time to time. But if I'm sitting here saying to you that you need to not hang around people who do these 5 things, then I'm also saying to the person who hangs out with you to not hang around you. And so this is a gut check for you, for me, for everyone, to take a hard look at our lives, our mental well-being, who we are, and begin to adjust these things. Begin to look on the bright side. Begin to be positive. Begin to stop gossiping and spreading rumors. And the beautiful thing about this, if you're falling into some of this trap, and sometimes, again, it's very cyclical. You're hanging out with people like that, so you become some of that, but it's very cyclical. But if we're hanging out with those people, or we're becoming that person, the person we don't want to become, here's the most beautiful thing I can possibly tell you today, is you have the power to change it, because you are in control of your life. You are the one person who gets to change anything about you. And it might take effort. It might take time. It might take positive affirmations. Maybe you need to wake up every day and have a list of things that says, today I will not drain other people's energy. Today I will not complain about other people. Today I will not gossip or spread rumors. Today I will not enable bad habits in anyone else. Today, I will not be a toxic individual. And we can start looking at ourselves and start using words of affirmations to change who we are, so that we are constantly thinking about it and constantly depositing goodness into other people's life, instead of taking withdrawals. That's it. That's on you. That's your power. That is your superpower. And when you start to change those things in your life, you will start to invite people into your life. And that's the most amazing thing, because you will become magnetic. You will become this person that people want to be around all of the time. And when you do that, you are going to have such an impact on the world and be able to change other people's lives. So this episode is not to, it's to help you walk away from people who maybe you shouldn't be spending time with. But 2, it's a gut check so that we can become better and that we can start to be the best version of ourselves. And I'm not here to, I don't want to feel like I'm coming down on anybody for some of these traits or doing some of these things. That is not my intention. I hope you don't walk away from it and like, that guy sucks, I don't ever want to hear him again. But I want us to take note, because this is a wellness podcast. This is about becoming your best self. This is about reaching your potential and finding your second of strength to do that. And my hope is when you listen to these episodes, you walk away a better person. That's what I want for you. I want you to be the best version of yourself. And sometimes that means walking away from the worst version of yourself. And sometimes the worst version of ourselves creeps up on us. Sometimes the worst version of who we are just comes because we're being a little bit complacent in certain areas of our lives. Well, this is the opportunity to stop being complacent and start being intentional. Be intentional with the type of person you want to be so that you can impact other people in their life. That's where the magic happens. That's when you become the best version of yourself, because you will be happy and you will help other people with happiness. So, I could keep going, but I hope this helps you. I hope it helps somebody in your life. Feel free to share it. This is for you. This is for me too. I got to take a lot of these notes myself and change things about me. But this is for you. And so wherever you are, thank you so much for listening. And you know what I say. Go find your 1 second of strength and be happy. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope it helped you. If you haven't already, hit subscribe so you never miss another episode, and leave a review for the show. And as always, go find your 1 second of strength and be happy.